Slange Var by Granton Harbour. My grandfather was a terrific storyteller. As a youngster, I spent much time with my grandparents and was fortunate enough to hear his many recollections from around the world. He served in the Royal Navy and achieved the rank of Chief Petty Officer. During World War II, he served on minesweeping duties across the Forth Estuary. When the war ended, my grandfather commenced a new career at sea as a trawlerman. It is here that the story begins. During his years working for HMT, His Majesty's Trawlers, my grandfather sailed on many trawler ships out of Granton Harbour and the Forth. The routes would lead as far as Iceland, the Faroe Islands. In his words, the fish in those seas were monsters of the deep. During one particular voyage, the crew of the vessel, named the Alma, witnessed something very unusual. The crew could amount to as many as 13 men on a voyage, dependent on distance. One of the crew members, who went by the name of Geordie Walker, was situated at the rear of the Alma, working on maintenance. Suddenly, from out of nowhere, a substantial wave lashed the vessel. The torrent battered the unaware trawlerman, sending him over the side of the boat and into the icy depths of the water. The crew members immediately ran to aid their colleague from the sea. Incredibly, before they could reach him, Geordie Walker returned catapulted from the water and launched back onto the deck of the Alma, but on the opposite side of the boat. The fortunate man had travelled beneath the vessel and back onto the deck above in a dramatic stroke of luck. The crew took Geordie below and resuscitated the shivering man. After a while, he regained composure and was ready to talk about the incident with the team. The boat captain could not comprehend how Geordie came to go overboard. Geordie was a hardened naval man and had sailed on many voyages previously. That size of a wave would not usually catch such a crew member off the guard. Geordie then relayed a very different version of events to the attentive crew. The visibly terrified man claimed that when the moment the tide had struck him, he stood confronted by another crew member, one he did not recognise and had never seen before. The man had either attempted to push him overboard or tried to grab him to save him. The captain stated that this was impossible, and he must have imagined it, the shock of being in such icy waters. However, Mr. Walker was adamant that the man had stood before him and managed to describe him right down to the tattoo on his left hand. The mysterious 14th man had the word Slange Var, meaning good health, and a thistle below it tattooed on his hand. He remembered the design as clear as day. It was at this point that my grandfather paused and returned to his duties. The rest of the trip went without incident. The crew landed a successful catch and returned to Granton, making good time. The Alma docked at the middle pier of Granton Harbour, and the crew concluded their duties and made their way to the nearby Granton Tap pub. The crew, now comfortable and seated in the confines of the Granton Tap pub, my grandfather took Geordie Walker aside and told him a story. The previous year, the crew of the Alma returned from a successful trip to the waters around the Shetland Isles. The crew were departing the vessel one by one, preparing to unload the catch onto the pier, when tragedy struck. A local man who went by the name of Mr. Ross lost his footing on the steep metal ladder that ascended the middle pier. The man crashed headfirst onto the hard wooden deck of the Alma. The force of the impact so severe that it split his head clean in two. My grandfather attempted to hold the terrible wound together and call out for help as poor Mr. Ross passed in and out of consciousness. Eventually, the life drained from his still fractured body. When help arrived, he attempted to feel for a pulse on the dead operate's hand. The cold dead hand with the word Slange Var tattooed upon it.